Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to What's Up Wednesdays with the professionals at the Roundtable. As always, brought to you by Healing Your Way. And please don't forget, if you like the podcast, to share, comment, subscribe, do all the things. It really does help us out, and we very much appreciate it. As usual, I'm Tara. I'm your host, and today we are joined by
Meenal Patel.
Thank you so much for joining us, Meenal. Today
Thank
we are talking a little bit about breaking the cycle. Do you want to give us a little bit of insight on what we're talking about?
Sure. We're talking about the cycle that everybody's kind of trapped in and doesn't realize it. It's the parent-child cycle where, as a parent, we raise our children. Um, we have our issues from our parents, and we unfortunately pass them down to our children without realizing. And it is exactly a cycle because we repeat what our parents did. Our technically that means we repeat what our grandparents did, and on and on and on backwards and on forwards unless we break the cycle. And so there's a lot of things that happens with trauma and parents. Um, I want to talk actually about one of the things that was brought in recently, and it happens often. I see a lot of kids like this that have bedwetting issues, for example. No, that's one major thing. Kids that come in with anxieties, kids that are brought in because they have fears of some kind, tics, phobias. There are so many things that happen that parents bring their kids in for, and the child is always the identified patient. What that means is people point the finger to what they think is wrong, and the child is innocent, young, and helpless. And when a behavior manifests, the child acts out.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the usual culprit is not the child, it's the parent, right? So if everything was great with the parent, then the child would be nice, bright, happy, smiling, generally stable. But that's not the case in our day and age and society, right? Because we live with so many problems. We have so many problems ourselves that we just project it onto our children. And then we don't take ourselves in for help. We take our child. Of course, the child has the problem. I'm
Always.
fine. I'm good, right? That's what happens. Nobody wants to look at themselves. They want to take everybody else in for therapy.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like a big case of nature versus nurture in a way.
Yeah, definitely. Um, Nurturing parents? What's that mean, Tara? What does it really mean?
Everyone's got a different definition.
Yeah, and you know what? As a child, let me ask you: were you ever taught how to be a parent?
No,
No.
just got a good
You
role
don't.
model too.
Yeah, and that's how we live, right? If we don't have good role models, what do? We do what our role models do. Go ahead, you're going to say something.
Just do our best.
Yeah, and a lot of times we try our best and we're walking around. Um, Here's the way I like to see it. Maybe we're physically functional, physically healthy, walking around with no problems. But if you look at emotionally or mentally, it's crippling, you know? But nobody's looking at that because you can't see your emotional or your mental self. Imagine a broken child, walking around, maybe not standing straight up. maybe in a wheelchair, maybe on crutches, maybe, I don't know, many things. Some children are on life support, basically, because there's so much trauma. And one huge thing that does that is the dynamics between parents. There's children who come from broken families. Now, it could be healthy, right? If you fix it and break the cycle.
Right.
And that means you being healthy, you being healed, you working on you and looking at what is going on with you, what's not working well, what stresses you out, what upsets you, what makes you have anxiety, where are your defense mechanisms, right? What behaviors drive people away? What, you know, if you can look at those things and fix them, address them, forgiving yourself, that is the most important thing. Self-forgiveness, self-love, and appreciation and respect. That does a lot.
Yeah. How do you then, as a parent, I'm in the dark on this one, I apologize. Mm-hmm. How do you, as a parent, come to that realization of, oh, it's not you, it's me?
When you see your child and they're exhibiting behaviors, you have to ask, where did you pick that up from? Mm-hmm. Right? Even if it's not just a parent, in any kind of relationship, right? A good rule or a good way to identify who it is are you present? Right? Are you present? If you're present because you're looking at it, you're seeing the problem, then you're participating. Otherwise, it wouldn't be in front of your face. Right. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Right? Otherwise, for example, I had one woman that came in and she says to me, everybody's cheating on their spouses, there's so much cheating going on. So I don't know, what are you talking about? That's what everybody does. They just cheat. All I see is cheating. In my workplace, there's people cheating. And, I've had relationships where there was cheating going on. Like, okay, that's your reality, right? It's not mine. I don't see that. I don't have that. But she had a history where that happened in her life, even with her own parents. And she was impacted as a child in a big way. So she saw that all the time. And she will see it until she addresses it herself. So basically, if it's in front of you and you're present in a situation where something is going on that is not feeling good for you and the people involved, right? If somebody's acting out, that's a good identifier to say, hey, time to look at what part am I playing in this.
Right. So have you ever had to step in, let's say somebody brought their kid to you and said, hey, he's the problem, fix him.
Yeah.
Have you ever had to turn around and be like, are we sure?
Yeah.
How'd they take it?
I only say that to people who are open. Mm-hmm. And I help the kid understand how to handle their situation if they're not. Because most people, I'm a hypnotherapist, right? Mm-hmm. Like, who's open to what I do? So if you brought your child in, either you were desperate or you're open. If you're desperate, you don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you're not open to what I'm going to say. Mm-hmm. So at that moment, I have to trust a child to be able to do what's needed for him or herself. If you come in with your child, and I have said this, most adults want to push it off and say, I want to help my child first. I don't have time for that, or I don't have money for that, or I don't have this and that.
Avoidance.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's easier to ignore it than it is to face it head on. And nobody likes to hear that there's something wrong with them.
Yeah, you got it.
So,
There's too much work involved in changing yourself.
yeah. And nobody wants to think that they have to change themselves either.
No, because God forbid that something be wrong with them. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And we're all taught growing up that, you're perfect, you're unique.
Yes. And
Aren't you?
that's very true. That's very true. You are perfect and you're unique. You're unique. There will be no other person like you ever.
Mhm.
Because your experience, nobody else is ever going to have.
Right.
You and nobody can. Even if you're having a conversation, shaking your head, you understand me, I understand you. Yes, yes, yes. Uh, we're still missing the mark. Because I can never be in your head and you can never be in mine. So I won't exactly ever know what you're talking about.
Right.
But yeah, we think we are unique, special in every way. But that doesn't mean uniquely, well, it does mean uniquely broken, sorry, but it doesn't mean that we have to walk around that way, broken. Because as they say, break people, or hurt people, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happens.
Misery
And
loves
what's that?
Misery loves company.
You got it. So we have sayings for all these things. Yeah, we don't want to accept or understand what to do about it,
Yeah.
And the reason I want to talk about I want to talk about this one case, because the child came in and, of course, identified patient for many years. Bedwetting. Let's just talk about bedwetting for a minute, right? Anytime and every time a child comes in for bedwetting, it's the parent. It's fear of the parent, usually the dad. And when you tell them, they don't want to hear it. And this was a case that happened recently, too. Two educated adults. And, sitting in the office, I always talk to the parent and the child at the same time first and then separate because I want to know the story. And of course, you couldn't say in front of the parent that your child's afraid of you,
Right.
because I had to dance around that and say, of course, you have a really good relationship with each other. So maybe it has something to do with the other spouse, or I don't know. This is what it's supposed to be about. Let's figure it out, kind of thing. And when the parent leaves, and I talk to the child, and it comes down to yes, it's fear of parent, lack of stability in their life due to like broken relationship, broken home. The child is tossed around from one parent to the other. There's no stability. When that kind of thing happens, what's the child to do? How do I know how my parent is today? And how to approach my parent? And how do I know if they're happy today or they're just trying to, most of the time, the parent is just trying to be there for the child and trying to deal with what happened. And they don't know how to be a certain way. So they impose what they feel they should be doing as a parent onto the child without considering how the child is impacted. Like, for example, if the parent only sees the child every 2 days, now the mom has to go out her way to make sure she spends enough time with the child, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the child doesn't need that. Maybe the child needs space, to understand themselves. Being in their face every time you're with them, maybe you're suffocating them, and they don't understand it, but this is the dynamics. And usually the issue is, and I'm generalizing, but it's true. Usually the dad's not around enough and the dad's doing their own thing and giving not enough attention to the child. even when the child needs, and it ends up being neglect, right? So neglect on one side, overbearance on the other side. What's the child supposed to do? Neither situation is good.
Yeah.
Of course, in that situation, bedwetting every time, every time. I've seen two cases where a child wasn't a bedwetter but became one because of this kind of situation, you know? And that child was maybe 4 or 5 years old. And but this is what happens. And is a parent willing to understand and accept that? No, I'm gonna try my best to be there for my kid. I really love my kid. That's what the parent's trying to do.
Mm.
Trying to play their role.
Is there anything to be said for the kids whose parents don't necessarily believe that they're at fault?
At that moment, you say to the child, please pay attention to yourself. You can't always fix your parents. Okay. If they're too toxic, the minute you can walk away, walk away. Because that is the case. Most parents have well meaning intentions, right? It's rare that a parent really wants to hurt their child. No? Danny always says, a lion never eats its own cubs, which is very true. That doesn't mean that something else isn't going on there, right? You won't eat your own cubs, so maybe you yell at them and torture them and do other things that you don't realize you're doing.
Yeah.
The truth is, if you treat your child that way, how are you treating yourself?
Right.
Same or worse. You beat yourself up every moment. Just because it's mental, emotional, doesn't mean you're not doing it. You criticize yourself. I'm not good enough. Oh gosh, I did that thing bad. Um, maybe, I'm just not good at this. I'm not good enough for anyone. Now how does that work out for your child when you don't feel good enough and you approach a child and try to parent? So that if the parent is not willing to understand and accept, even if the parents are good intentioned parents, you need to put some distance as you get older, and you need to give yourself the help that you need to fix it, to break the cycle. No, otherwise we always become just like our parents. Maybe an altered version, some worse, some better, slightly, but pretty much the same. And you see
You
that?
can't fight genetics.
No. Well, it is genetics, but it's also choices, right? It's conditioning. Because just think about it for a moment. Think about how you were conditioned since you were a child. What did your parents teach you? Every morning, you get up and you do this, this, and this, right? Do you pray? Do you believe in God? Most part of child is a lot of being a child. Sorry, I'm going to say this properly because there's too much going on in my head. When you're a child, there's a lot of religious things that are taught to you. You know what I mean? Going to church, going to Sunday school. Even in the Indian culture, we had that once a week. There was some religious thing going on every day. There was a prayer to do, stories that you're told. And we're indoctrinated at a very young age. Now imagine somebody who doesn't believe in religion at all or doesn't impose it. What kind of childhood does that person have? What kind of childhood does somebody have who doesn't have pets or siblings? You have a different life altogether. Just there's small changes, but imagine you're in Asia, you're in the US.
Mhm.
Maybe you don't have a digital world there. Um, Not to say they're backwards, but there are society. In fact, a lot of the places are more forwards than here, but their society's different. They live outside, you know, and imagine growing up there. Life will be different. Your belief system will be different. Your behaviors would be different, and now imagine a person. I think people do this, right? When they have like an au pair from another country come and stay in your house, or like exchange students, and just learning what it's like to be in the house of different people. You know, we're already indoctrinated when we're young. There's so much we are taught that we don't realize,
Mhm.
including behaviors just by watching and learning from parents, teachers, siblings. So this, how much of an impact does that really have? And the whole thing is about breaking the cycle. You have to break your own cycle. You have to be willing to look at who you are, what you are, and what you've done. Not in a way to blame yourself, but in a way to learn and see how you impact others, and we all impact others, and how you can heal and create a different world just by doing it yourself. Most people don't realize that you can just sit home all day long, sit there and meditate and improve yourself, and you're doing more work for humanity than if you go out and have a job and make money, right? Because we are a collective consciousness. If I behave in a very good, positive way, if you happen to come to my house, how's that going to impact you?
I mean, your house impacts me in a good way, so
Okay.
always leave a little happier.
That's good. See? And if you feel that way and you're headed to work and you've already seen that, you're just going to most likely turn around and bring that happiness to others.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a ripple effect, you know, it just keeps going further. If you experience it once, you're still going to do it the once. Now imagine if you experience it again and again and again and again. You're going to do it more often until it becomes a behavioral change, right?
Right.
And you won't even realize it happened. It's just because you're around people like that. Same thing happens if you're around people who are negative all the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? You become that way. So just like that, without realizing, you're raised in a family that have things going on. That's why, you know, kids who are raised in families where there's an alcoholic parent, a lot of those kids have PTSD grow up, and a good amount of them will drink, so it gets passed down. And you don't know why. Is it in your genes? Maybe. Nobody's proven that yet.
Mm-hmm.
Is it energetically in your body? Yes, right? It's energetically in your body because that's what you're familiar with, that kind of energy. What does love mean to you? As a child, love to you was abusive because your alcoholic parent, I'm going to guarantee you, wasn't a nice, friendly, soft, cushy person, right? Comes home yelling, angry, puts everybody on their toes and on edge. That doesn't feel good.
Right.
So that energy and then that mentality and that emotional state you carried for how long? So that becomes your reality moving forward. So whoever you attract in your life, whether it's a partner or a friend, or your understanding of love is painful. Love is abusive. Love's not nice. Love puts me on edge. So now everybody you'll find will be like that. Maybe not the exact same way, but still the same way. It's not literal,
Yeah.
but it is the feeling that you will get out of that person you meet that you feel comfortable with, because it's similar, will always feel what you felt in your childhood. You know what I mean? So the only way to break your cycle is to change your definition of love. And your definition of love has to be respectful, caring, forgiving, appreciating, trusting. If you don't have it and you can't fill your cup up first with that, you can't give it, right? If you don't have it, you can't give it. And your parents didn't have it, so they gave you the negative, right? For example, if, say, one of my children come in and try to borrow some money from me, but I have nothing in my piggy bank. Well, okay, I don't want to tell them, and I don't want them to feel bad because they came in to ask me for something that was important for them. So most likely what we would do is try to make our loved ones happy, right? So now I'll go, Tara, I need like $20. Can I borrow it from you? I'll give it back, I promise. And you're like, sure. I take the $20 and I give it to my kid so they can do what they need. What did I just give? I didn't have anything positive to give. My bank was empty. I gave debt, right? I gave something negative. Same thing mentally, emotionally. When you don't have something positive to give, you give negative. Parents think they're giving love, but they're yelling while they're trying to do something loving, right? They may be making food for you because they love you and making your best meal, but at the same time, they are getting angry because you're doing something that's pissing them. Sorry, excuse me. That's upsetting them. You know what I mean? And what's the child see? Crazy parent. They don't see, wow, she took the time out to make this and this for me.
Yeah.
Right. But if you can cut that out, and if you can love yourself and fill your cup up first with something positive, now when your child's sitting there trying to eat their food, they will feel it, right? They feel that love, and it's a whole different dynamic. Then they'll say, look, my mom cares for me. It's a whole different situation. And most of the time, parents don't know what to give their kids, and parents are lost, which in that way, let me talk about it on that part, right? Because parents are lost. When your child is young, you can't read your child's mind. You can't, right? You literally don't understand. When your child is 5, what is your child trying to communicate to you? And the parent is trying to do their best. So no matter how much a parent tries, it's never going to go 100% perfect.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're trying to live and understand life ourselves. We're here to grow. If everything was perfect, you'd never grow. You need that catalyst to push you to grow, that discomfort, right? To push you to grow. One of the kids on the Figuring Out podcast said, you have to break the glow stick in order for it to glow. In order for your light to shine, you got to break the glow stick. And very true. In Buddhism, there's a tea ceremony, and I believe they do it a lot in Japan, where they'll take a cup. Everybody will have the same cup. They'll take the cup and they'll break it, and then they'll piece it back together and glue it back together, right? Now, when you look at each cup that you had to mindfully glue back because you're trying to figure out what happened to all the pieces. How did they break? How can I put them back? It takes time. It doesn't happen right away. And when you put it back, no two cups are ever the same again. You know, that's the uniqueness of each cup. It's a unique experience that each cup had. It's to represent people. And then you brew the tea mindfully. No, no words are said. And everybody watches it consciously. And once the tea is brewed, you pour it consciously. Now you filled your cup up with consciousness, being present while the tea was being poured. And then you drink the tea. And, it's symbolism, obviously, of fill yourself up with presence and awakening. Just pay attention. It's not about having a perfect life. There's no such thing,
Mm.
you know. But yeah, I mean, parenting is not easy. It's here's something else to say though. There are so many parents out there that really shouldn't be parents. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have you seen it enough?
Yeah.
And you wonder why this person is putting out children?
Funny. I started off in childcare all too often. I've seen it.
Mhm. Yeah. And the thing is, and that's why a lot of the problems arise to begin with. You know, our society teaches that uh, you're born, you learn, you go to school, you finish high school, you go to college, or you start work, you find somebody, you settle down and have kids.
Right.
If you didn't have kids or you didn't get married, somebody's going to say to you, hey, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
You know?
And I feel like every woman, once as they hit like 22, when are you having kids?
Yes.
When are you having kids? I don't go a day.
Wow.
Maybe I don't go a week
Wow.
without somebody asking me, so when are you having kids?
Really? See that? And look at this modern day and age, but doesn't matter which culture. Every culture is saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
When you're having kids. And you know what? Sometimes you should really understand who you're talking to. That person may not need to have kids. The kids will be better off with another parent, right? And not everybody's made to have spouses.
Yeah.
Okay, not everybody should be married. Have relationships, be happy. But that doesn't mean you need to be married, because a lot of times I find that there's so much divorce going on, and it's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
You're unhappy, you break up. Okay, if it's just the two of you, no harm done. What happens? You decide to have kids. Now there's chaos going on in the entire family, and the poor kids get dragged in the middle of the whole situation. See the trauma?
Yeah.
You see why the trauma? It's like, so for me, I would advise, and I always tell my own kids too, think before you do something. Don't get married, live together. Find the person you love and stay with them. You won't disrespect them. You won't take them for granted. You will respect them more if you don't know that they're going to be there tomorrow. Right? You will appreciate them. And that's what I find, that piece of paper that says married on it just allows you to do whatever you want without thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it trickles down and you go, well, society says, okay, I'm married. Oh, I gotta have kids. Okay. How many kids am I supposed to have? You put out some kids, and then the kid, nobody wants to take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
Mom's not around, dad's not around, busy working.
Kids raising babies raising babies.
Yes, right? This happens.
Yeah.
It's even in the old days, the older child raised the younger kids. Because I know, for me, being the older child, I was always taking care of my two siblings, my brother and sister, and my two cousins who are younger than them. Okay. And my kids, I call them my kids, my brother and sister don't know when my mom was really there when we were young. And if they were to say who was mom, they have my face in their head, right? Is it a good thing? It's not a good thing,
Mhm.
right? Did you have a situation like that?
Not necessarily, if I'm being honest.
Mhm.
My parents, I'm very fortunate to be raised by the people that I was raised by, honestly.
Mhm. Yeah.
My mom never let my brother parent me. He wasn't allowed to tell
Wow.
me what to do. If
Wow.
he thought I was doing something wrong, he had to bring it to mama, and mama would be the judge. Of
Yeah.
course, she was a stay-at-home mom, so she was home with us most of the time. My dad
Mhm.
worked, but we all had our after-school activities, so we all did that as a family. We always had family dinner time.
Mhm.
I'm very fortunate to be
Mhm.
raised in the position that I was raised in.
Yeah.
But you did say something earlier where you were mentioning being raised religious and
Mm.
how that really shapes who you are.
Mhm.
I was not.
Wow.
I was never forced to go to church as a kid. My family did not do church. I
Mhm.
had the option, if I had a friend who went, that I was allowed to go if I wanted to.
Wow.
But my family never spoke positively or against any kind of
Okay.
religion. And I think my family's morals
Mhm.
are no better or no worse for it. But the way that we
Why?
were viewed by other families was worse for it.
Wow. And how did that impact you?
Um, Not much.
Yes. You
Honestly,
know,
because my family was always supportive.
I,
Always.
mhm. I
Through and
agree with you. Go ahead.
I did turn into the supportive friend.
Mhm.
So anytime anybody has a problem, I usually end up taking their burden on myself,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
is also something that my mom does. So
Mhm.
I will
Yeah.
say I have every bit of my dad's road rage.
Well, okay.
That's for
And
sure.
it, and interestingly, without even going to church or being a religious family, similar morals were already imprinted on
Hmm?
you, right?
What's right,
Treat
wrong,
treat others.
how you want to be treated.
Yeah. So, do you really need to go to church to learn those things?
Nope.
No. Interestingly, Tara, when you say that, my family wasn't so religious either. Okay. Uh, my I learned a lot of it when I was young. My
Yeah.
grandmother was very religious. My aunt, who I lived with for a year, she was very religious. So while I was with them, I learned it all. But I was a child and I enjoyed it. I didn't have a problem with it. But it wasn't enforced on me. It was encouraged. And I wanted to do what the adults were doing.
Right.
So it was fun for that 1 year I was doing it, right? After that, my parents, they were not religious. They didn't go to church. They were busy working all day,
Right.
you know. So when that happened, none of us really, we were open to believing our own stuff, you know, open to learning and choosing who we wanted to be. And I find that is very healthy, you know. Those people who go to church, I think they're more indoctrinated than people like you and me.
Mhm.
You know?
There's a different sense of freedom that
Mhm,
comes with it
mhm.
because I was raised to become a woman that would make my parents proud. And I feel
Yes.
like I did succeed.
Mhm.
With that being said, I wasn't raised to fear the repercussions of piercing my ears, getting
Yes.
attacked, because that doesn't define who I am.
Very
I'm
true.
still a good person. I just look different.
You know what? You made a good point because having belief systems, it keeps you from doing certain things
Mm,
out of fear. And that's a big problem because if we don't do what we want to do out of fear, then, you don't live your life
yeah.
and you don't fulfill who you want to be. And that's a conversation I was having with somebody earlier today, who I was trying to encourage into podcasting because she has a lot to say about women issues. And she's young, and of course, she has a lot to say because looking at her, she takes good care of herself, you know. And as I was telling her about it, and she's like, well, I'm afraid to do that. I don't want to. I said, look at how many people would not get the benefit of knowing what you know. Put the fear away and educate, fear can stop a lot of people from helping others in many ways, helping themselves first,
Yeah.
I mean, fear can be very debilitating.
100%.
Yeah. And living in fear is the whole reason why we have this conversation we're having today, right? When you have the fear of losing your child, a fear of not being good enough, you literally project it onto your child and create a pattern, that is unhealthy for your child. And it continues. And then the child does the same thing, never really lives a life out. Everything boils down to love and fear, right?
Yeah.
If you are fearful, then you will not live out your life in a fulfilling way, in a happy way. If you're loving, you just sit there and you're happy doing what you want. You're not even caring what the other person next to you is doing. And the funny thing is, when you're doing your own thing and you're so happy, everybody turns around and says, what are you doing? And they come up and bother you.
Yeah.
Right? You've had that experience?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But why are you so happy today?
Exactly, right? And they want to do what you're doing. They want to be who you are. They want to feel what you're feeling. And it's funny because, of course, my daughter, who you know really well, she just, all three of my kids, they're just so comfortable in themselves. They're just happy doing what they're doing. And especially Karina, people will come up and bother her. What are you doing? And she's just busy reading her stuff, happy, drinking her coffee, doesn't want to be bothered. But 50 people will come up and say, hey, what are you doing? Can we hang out? Can we do this? Because they see you're happy and you're content.
And she really is like a positive influence as well on the people that she meets. And I think that really does just go to show.
Yeah.
Like, exactly, like, you become a little bit of who you're with, and Karina makes the people around her better.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So you can pat yourself on the back.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So I want to take full credit for my kids. But sometimes you get to have really good parents, and you're like, where the heck did this kid come from?
Yeah. No, I will say I'm astronomically lucky because neither of my parents grew up in happy households. They didn't have an ideal childhood, to say the least. It's not my business to tell, but I can tell you the path that they walked up until they met each are very against the statistics.
Wow. So they
110% they broke the cycle.
And that's a rare event.
All on their own.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it is very rare to have parents that are like that because nobody wants to put the time and effort in. Nobody wants to look in the mirror and go, wow, some change needs to happen. I need to work on myself. No, they want to point the finger at somebody else. Everything's okay in this house. It's you. It's not me. Everybody wants to point the finger outside. And nobody wants to look in.
And it doesn't matter what it is either. It could be the littlest thing. It's so much easier to deflect than it is to just accept criticism.
Yeah, that's exactly how it is. And it's frustrating for everybody who's around who can see the truth. Yeah. Right? You know who did what. And then the denial and not wanting to change. And then what happens? So here's, The issue is that we become enablers
Mhm.
of that behavior if we don't say something
Right.
to that person. But if we say something to the person, their tiger self will come out, and who knows what will happen. Some yelling, some getting upset, temper tantrums.
Right.
And who wants to deal with that? And that's something that I was, talking to my kids about, because nobody wants unhappy people and they don't want to be the instigator.
Yeah.
Well, how do you break a cycle if you continue to enable somebody else's behavior?
Right.
Right? You have to speak up and say, look, it's good for you that you're doing that, but it's not working for me.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to
do it sooner. It's so much better to do it sooner rather than later, instead of getting yourself stuck in a cycle of just keeping your head down and grinning and bearing it, because you're gonna hit the point where you detonate.
You're so right.
There's no walking back from detonation. The damage will be
done.
done.
You're right. And it's, as Karina goes off to college, I was having a conversation with her. I said, when you go there to college and you're surrounded by people, there's peer pressure.
Mm-hmm.
At what point are you going to sit there and allow other people to be and enable them and their bad behavior? Are you going to stand up and say, no, this is not working for me? Because, of course, she's very kind-hearted and she doesn't create waves, right? So she ended up with a friend that was not good for her. She let it happen because she didn't really care. It did impact her, right? It does impact. If you have somebody around you that keeps saying things to you that are not okay, are not right, they're false to begin with, it does impact you. What are you doing with that person? If you keep enabling, you're waiting for that detonation to happen any day, because it will. But if you do it right from the beginning, that this is not okay for me, this is not right for me, now maybe that relationship ends right there.
Right.
No harm done. You're not the right friend for me, I'm not the right friend from you. We go our separate ways and move forward, right? No unhappiness, no craziness. And you don't have to be responsible for enabling somebody's bad behavior. And if that happens in the beginning versus down the line, a huge difference. Why live in a world where you surround yourself with people who are not like you?
Right.
Instead, go ahead and find people who are like you and interact with them. And what a totally different life in the world you live in. You know what I mean? It's very positive. It's very encouraging. If you see the boys on the Friday podcast, that is such a nice thing that's happening. There's 6 of them, and they're encouraging each other all day long, to be healthy, to be fit, to learn more. They're encouraging each other to be in occupations that will work in a good way for them. What more do you want? Being surrounded by people that are like you and you can have conversations with that you understand. Everybody participates. And what's also happened in that group is that if it doesn't work out, they figure it out. That's nice, right? I mean, you've had in your family, you probably have things go on. Not every day's perfect. Not everyone's perfect.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
How do you handle it?
Take a breather and you come back stronger.
Yeah, and that's okay, because it's not that you won't have challenges.
Yeah.
Everybody's got challenges. Even in a workplace, you'll have challenges. It's a matter of how you're going to carry yourself differently than others are doing robotically every day.
And if you throw in the rag every time you have a problem, you throw in the rag every time there's a disagreement, you'll have nobody.
Yeah.
You have to back back.
Yeah, agreed. You have to. And if you're too worried about, oh, I want our friends because I speak up and tell the truth and I say the things that are hard to say, you're just saying no to the people that don't belong with you in the first place.
Yeah.
There are other people out there that belong with you,
Mm-hmm.
and you should stay with them. But technically, this is breaking the cycle. And to break the cycle of what goes on, the damages that go on in a family system, right? You just need to stop, take a look in the mirror, and be honest with yourself and not point the finger at your child and take your child in for therapy. And if you're the child and your parents are not willing, then you have to wait it out. But you can work on yourself. You can work on yourself, even as a child. Children know. They're not incapable of understanding. So if you can find the right way, find the right people, and find a way to just be by yourself, find a place, a corner where you've made your safe place, and whenever things are in chaos, just stay there, until you feel better, and then walk away, and then walk out and interact. There's 3 ways of being. We have a few minutes with 3 ways of being. One, most of the time, what's happening in life is, whether we're adults or not, when we're in a situation, we end up having a temper tantrum. Okay? Because we don't behave like adults when we're unhappy, we behave like kids. And we'll have a temper tantrum. Only children have temper tantrums. Okay? So when somebody's having a temper tantrum because they had a bad day or something went wrong, and you walk into that situation, you have 3 ways to behave, right? Most people don't know they have a choice like that. You can go in and have the temper tantrum, party with them, because when they see you, they'll be like, it's because of you that this is happening. They will point the finger 100%. And you're going to get upset. You're like, what are you talking about? I just walked in.
Yeah.
And you get upset and you play. I call it playing ball, right? And you'll have the temper tantrum party with that person. You just went down to their level.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's one way. The second way is, somebody's doing that. Not participate and walk away.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be there. No? Because a person can only do that for so long. Walk away. It's not for you. And the third choice is you walk in knowing where you're at, which is not where they're at. You're calm, you're doing okay, you walk in. And when you walk in, don't participate no matter what they say, and just stand there and watch them for a minute. The thing that really upsets people is they can't get to you, right? But when they see that no matter what they do, they can't upset you and throw that negative energy on you, because energy wants to move. It wants to move from one person to the other. They want to throw that anger on you so they can be relieved of it. Okay? And if you don't accept that, what are they going to do? How long can they keep crying, screaming? If you watch a child, they can only stamp their legs and cry for so long. It takes too much energy. You have to stop. So you can either wait it out, or you can go over after a minute or so, put your hand on their shoulder and ask them, are you okay? How can I help you? Do you need a hug? Instead of going down to their level, you brought them to yours. Right? And that's how you break things. That's how you walk differently. Be mindful of where you are and what you're walking into, and choose. You can choose. You don't have to do what somebody else is doing. Breaking the cycle.
Breaking the cycle. I think that's a good note to leave it on. Thank you so much for joining me today and talking about breaking the cycle. As always, brought to you by Healing Your Way. You can find us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and of course, Rumble. We are on all of the places. If you like the podcast, please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, do all of those things as well. And as always, we'll see you next week for What's Up Wednesday. Goodbye, beautiful people.
Thank you. Goodbye.